You know Graybar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Graybar does that.
Welcome into the latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. 3 different states, 3 different locations for your 3 different fearless hosts on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. My name is Tyler Maughan in Denver, Colorado. Benjamin Hill is in New York City, and Sam Dykstra is in Louisville, Kentucky. Hi, Sam. How are you? How's your pronunciation of Louisville been going?
I think I have one more game to go to tonight, and I think by then maybe I'll really get it down. I was saying Louisville to get in.
Yeah.
Like as I was flying in and telling people I'm going to Louisville. I think the E is losing some of its strength.
You landed and they like pushed you up against a wall and they were like, it's not Louisville.
Yeah. They don't have customs here. They have pronunciation checks. How are you going to say it when you get through? It must be hell come Derby time, like,
yeah, that is
all
true.
Of these people, maybe the people flying in on their private jets get to skip the pronunciation check, but I did not. So I'm losing the E in Louisville. Happy to be here. It's been a great time. Got to see, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but Christian Encarnacion Strand, a Reds prospect, homered yesterday. Ellie De La Cruz fired a 99-mile-an-hour missile. Like, you come here to see prospects, and then they live up to the hype. I love it every time.
That is pretty great. Benjamin Hill returning from the road. Ben's back home in New York. Ben, what's going on?
Yeah, I returned from the road. I mean, I guess it was like a week ago at this point, but time is getting a little shaky for me now. And this week, as I was saying to you guys before we went, quote unquote, on the air, it's been a very burning the candle at both ends sort of week. My son Harry is 2 years old. He's been getting up at 5 a.m. and was a little sick as well. Monday night, my team lost in my pinball league playoffs, so that was a late night. I saw the band Acid Mother's Temple last night at Mercury Lounge. It's probably about the 35th time I've seen them. So by a factor of like 2, I've seen that band more than anyone else, but I hadn't seen them for 4 years. They're my favorite live band of all time, and I love them, but I had a late rock and roll night, and here we are, trying to get through the day. And I will, and everything is good.
I like the idea of this episode being named A Late Rock and Roll Night. Even though it's not really going to capture what we're talking about on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, but it could. We could just dive into it.
Metaphorically,
yeah, exactly. Well, if you're tuned in, we thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. And if you're not tuned in, you're not hearing me say this, so that was a pointless way to lead into that. But you can get in touch with this podcast at MILB.com. You can find us on Twitter, of course, at Ben's Biz, at Sam Dykstra, MILB, and at Tyler Maughan. And Ben, the road trip in the bank now. You went to the Northwest, got a chance to travel around one of the most beautiful areas of the country, see some of the coolest minor league franchises in the country, and you got to go see the lone minor league franchise in another country, which is also very cool. Give us some of the highlights. I know we were getting set to talk about a very fascinating staff addition in Eugene that came about in an extremely unorthodox way. That seems like a very fun story that we need to hear in detail.
Yeah. So last week, I do believe I talked from Tacoma in my segment and still had to go to Vancouver. Got back. Yeah, everything's a long story these days. Anyway, yeah, I got back and now I'm making sense of all the material. One of the first, proper standalone traditional MILB.com road trip stories that I've written that is now up and live, living on the website, MILB.com, the official website of minor league baseball, is about the Eugene Emeralds public address announcer, a woman named Jill Cole, on Twitter at the Female PA. And I met her, I was in Eugene for 2 nights, Friday, May 5th and Saturday, May 6th. May 6th was Exploding Whales, and I've got a big story to write about the Exploding Whales at some point in my near future. But on May 5th, I did a lot of other kind of standalone interviews and stories, and Jill Cole was one of them. Because here's how, in a nutshell, she got the job as public address announcer at PK Park, which the Eugene Emeralds share with the University of Oregon. She was at a Eugene Emeralds game with her family, her husband, her 2 kids, little kids, and she loves to heckle. So she's heckling and she says, I'm a clean heckler. I was just at the game clean heckling. I just like that phrase, just like she used it so naturally. Like, I was just at the game clean heckling, as one does. Just wouldn't it be fun to go to the game tonight, honey? Do a little clean heckling. That was kind of the vibe. So she's heckling at a Eugene Emeralds game, and Alan Benavidez, the team's general manager, hears her and is like, whoa, that woman's got a good voice, and I can hear her from from many feet away. So he decides to kind of make a game of it. He walks over to her, in the aisle, he motions to her like, hey, miss, come talk to me. Jill thinks she's going to be reprimanded.
Yeah, I would be so nervous.
Yeah, like kicked out of the ballpark for heckling. Jill's husband is standing up like, wait, what? You're going to kick her out? What? So she squeezes down the aisle, goes to where Alan Benavidez is standing, thinking there's going to be some sort of not altercation, but maybe a confrontation about her clean heckling and how she needs to tone it down. But instead, Alan says, you've got a great voice. Have you ever thought about being the PA announcer? And she was like, no, like I never thought about that. So Alan gives her his card, and she's like, huh, that's weird. Next time she comes to a game, Alan hears her again, tracks her down and says, come with me. Brings her up to the press box. The full-time public address announcer steps aside for an inning and just says, and Jill gets to do PA. She did well. The crowd responded well. She enjoyed it. Then she became a backup for a couple seasons. And now this year she's entered PA duties as the primary role. And so if you go to Eugene Emeralds game and you hear Jill's voice over the public address announce system, which you will, know that she got that position from clean heckling. And I think that's a lesson to everybody out there. Go to a ball game and just be you. Don't bring anyone else's time down, and certainly be clean. It's a family-friendly environment, but don't be afraid to show your personality, because you never know what it might lead to.
Yeah, I like that tinge of it. It was like, show your personality, because I was trying to think, what's another role that you could get just by being at the ballpark? Like, what if you just started yelling hot dogs? And like, hey, you seem to sell hot dogs well. You want a job doing that? Or you just start doing play-by-play from your seat loudly, and they're like, hey, wait a second. Like, Tyler, how would you feel if all of a sudden you just heard somebody else
I will say
reading stats off?
The only way that I ever got a ball at a minor league game as a fan is talking loudly about how I had never gotten a ball. I was like 16. I was at a Colorado Springs Sky Sox game against the then Oklahoma City Red Hawks. And we were sitting right next to the dugout, and I was just talking loudly about the fact that I had never gotten a ball. And one of the Red Hawks coaches, their first or third base coach, somebody just went into the dugout, got a ball, pointed at me and flipped it to me. I was like, this is awesome. So I guess it works in certain circumstances. Yeah, I like that.
I got to say, that story was very good, but it got a little bit worse when you said teen.
Yeah.
Like, I was 6, and I was loudly complaining.
Yeah, no,
I got a ball.
I'm not saying it was right.
Yeah,
You were driving age, and all of a sudden you.
Hey, man, it's like I've never, and we've had this conversation, I think, once or twice before, but like, I've never caught a ball at a big league game. Am I like, I don't know. I'm still, in my mind, you get into a queue as a child to get a ball. If you're an adult and you still haven't caught a ball, why do I have to give that ball away? Like, come on, make a kid catch it if he wants the ball or she wants the ball.
I caught a ball at a major league game, barehanded it, one hand, and I did not give that ball to anybody.
Yeah, especially if you catch it barehanded, one-handed. No kid deserves that. That's a heck of a play.
Yeah, I was in the upper deck at a Mets game. I had a cider, a canned cider in one hand, moved a little to my left, caught it with my left hand, barehanded, and
that's amazing.
The funny thing is, as I sat down immediately, I just was like, stood up, caught it, and then went back to my seat. Didn't even do like a moment of celebration. And
because you don't want to draw attention to yourself, because then everybody's going to be like, give it to a kid.
Yeah, I don't know what. Like, I was psychoanalyzing that later. Was I trying to be kind of arrogant? Like, this is so no stress for
I'm
me.
so used to these kinds of plays. Don't worry about it.
Was it arrogance, or was it that I didn't want to draw attention to myself. I had a Phillies hat on at a Mets ballpark. It wasn't a big crowd. I don't think this was in 2014. I don't think either team was particularly good back then. So it wasn't like a real heated environment or a big crowd, but I think part of that was that, like, I didn't want like people to see the guy in the Phillies hat. I just made that awesome play. You know, who knows, but it gave me a lot to think about. But a friend of mine just sent me, you know, one of those Facebook, you know, memories of that moment. A friend of mine who was there, and I saw that picture and I was like, yeah, that was awesome. I stood up, I caught that ball. Ben's biz in civilian mode. He still gets it done at the ballpark.
One thing I think we should really harp on here, though, is the important stipulation that this was the first and only ball you caught, right? Like, we're not, the official stance of the show before the show is not all adults should keep all the balls they get.
Right. No, your first ball only. You get a one-time exception on your first ball only.
All right.
Okay,
I just don't want to
Be
get
Zach
too far
Handel
away
out
from
here
yeah.
being a clown to everybody. It's your first
Okay,
ball.
wait, but it was the second ball I caught, actually, because the first
Well,
one.
now we have controversy. Although if it's like a spectacular play like that, I feel like there's wiggle room.
Yeah, and the first one was I was in, as I believe you were as well, Tyler. I was a big brother, like Big Brother, Little Brothers of
Correct.
America. And so I got the tickets in this case through Big Brothers. I was with my little brother Shane. I brought a glove to the game, not because I usually bring a glove, because I was trying to encourage Shane to be into it. And we got there a little late, sat down midway between the first. Mets came to bat in the bottom of the first. He didn't really want to wear the gloves, so I was just like, all right, man, I'm going to wear the glove and kind of show you how it's done. Jose Reyes was the first batter of the game and just fouled one back, and we were just, you know, pretty good seats a little bit down the first base line. So first batter, we were in our seats to watch. He hits one. I have the glove on. I just stood up and caught it. So that was cool, but it had two things. Like, you know, I did give it to the kid because I was there with Shane. And two, I had a glove, which made it seem in a way like it didn't count, because I don't bring a glove to a game. I that was literally the only time in probably the last 20 years I brought a glove to a game, and I happened to catch a ball with a glove, but I felt like that makes it not count. I wish I hadn't had that glove, so I had the opportunity to barehand it and really see if I had what it took.
Well, the fact that you gave it away, one, and two, that you recognize that like there was a little bit of artificial catch making with the glove, that means that you retain your right of refusal to give the next one to a kid, especially if you make a bare hand play. The only thing cooler than making a bare hand play is catching it in a beer cup. But it has to be full and the beer has to splash everywhere, and then you get to keep that too. So I'm with you on all this. Sam seems to be a little bit in disagreement here, and I'm not sure I like the attitude.
No, I'm not in disagreement. I don't want it to be, we've gone so far down this road of like, yeah, and this is why I kept the ball and didn't give it to children.
The
like,
show before the show is now anti-child.
Yeah, I just don't want to get that far. Like, I'm happy for people who catch balls and keep them and get to keep them. And put them on
Ben's
their
the
desk or
only
something.
father here. I feel like even Ben eventually will tell Harry, like, no, you got to get the ball yourself. It's not just like this dude catches it and he hands it off to you 4 rows away. No way.
I'm going to be like that kind of dad, you know, within reason, but I'm going to be like, man, let's suffer first, because then when like something really good happens, like, you appreciate it.
Then you
I
appreciate
understand little kids. It's good giving little kids stuff, but like if, you know, he gets a ball in that fashion just because he's cute, I'd be like, cool, man, but like you didn't do anything.
You didn't earn it.
You didn't earn it. Yeah. So, you know, let's come back out here and do it yourself, and then we can really celebrate.
I like that. Man, have we gotten sidetracked?
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say that's good. Now that we have the, we need to write this stuff down of like the show before the show, official way to attend a ball game, when to do something, when not to do something. Maybe that'll be the off-season project.
Yeah,
We'll, like,
but
codify all of this stuff.
Exactly. But for our purposes now, if you're a clean heckler, you might get a job as a public address announcer.
There you go. Bring it on home then.
As Jill Cole did in Eugene, Oregon.
All right. Well, after that, when you joined the podcast last week, which was you recording and sending it to us, a missive from the road, you were about to head to Vancouver. You were about to go north of the border. How was your experience with the Canadians? Not just the team, but the fan base. All the Canadians.
It was awesome. I hadn't been there since 2012. I have one fairly large regret, is that I just wasn't there for enough time. I really wish I had a full another day in Vancouver, both to explore that beautiful city and also to have a second game at Nat Bailey Stadium, because there's so many people to talk to and so many potential stories. But, you know, I had to kind of have a tight schedule now on these road trips, especially with the aforementioned fatherhood thing. So I got through the border. There was no problem at all, which was great. And drove straight to the ballpark, got there around 4:00. So I had a little bit of time before a 7:00 game to walk around. And I remember this from last year, 11 years ago, that there's a public park across the street from the ballpark. Nat Bailey Stadium is next to like an ice rink and like curling facility. So like the ballpark was packed at 4 o'clock with all these like people who were using the other like the other sporting complexes or facilities around Nat Bailey. But I walked by all that, crossed the street, and I believe it's called Queen Elizabeth Park, but it's literally right across the street from Nat Bailey Stadium. And so when you cross the street, it's immediately sloping upward. And so I walked, 10 or 15 minutes up a hill at Queen Elizabeth Park. And then, there's an observatory, a restaurant, but just views that are phenomenal. I put one on Instagram, put it on Twitter, but the city skyline, beautiful flowers, especially this time of year, budding flowers, verdant trees, mountains in the background, blue sky, clouds, the city, the water, like you have like everything you could want in a good view just right there. And I walked like 12, 15 minutes to be in that position from the minor league ballpark. And so it's just amazing. And Nat Bailey Stadium, having been built in 1951, we should look into this, but I think at this point, after the minor league baseball contraction and going down to 120 teams, I think we lost all our other rooftop press boxes except for Nat Bailey Stadium, built in 1951, still has the rooftop press box. So when I went up there during the game to spend some time on the air with their broadcaster, Tyler Zickel, great broadcaster, by the way.
One of our absolute favorites of all time.
Yeah.
One of the best people in baseball and sports at large. And, just among people that I know. I've actually never met in person, but that I know.
No, he's a great dude, has a background from Lake Elsinore, learned from one of the best out there, Sean McCall, and is, rocketing upwards in my Tyler rankings, I have to say. My Tyler broadcaster rankings.
Same here.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got the top spot in my book. So
yeah. But anyway, just to go up to the press box to be on the radio, and before and afterwards, just standing on the roof and having a version of that view, looking from the other direction of the hills and the mountains. Like you do this, you have this beautiful nature landscape looking away from the ballpark, and then you turn around and you have the game on the field from the roof. I mean, it's just amazing. And the covered grandstand and just an old fashioned type atmosphere. I remember this from last time, but it certainly held the most like engaged fans, I think, literally anywhere in minor league baseball is in Vancouver, just in terms of really paying attention to the games, in terms of just like pitch by pitch, and especially under the covered grandstand with a little echo. The ambient crowd noise is just phenomenal. The oohs when something doesn't work, and the cheering, and I mean, just the dialogue the crowd has with the game itself is amazing. And I talked to a lot of people, who've been there for years. I talked to an usher, Hans, not Hans, but he's from Holland originally, and he said, "I'm Hans," and that's what it is. But I talked to an usher named Hans who's been around for 40 plus years, and just talking about what the team has meant to him. I talked to players don't stay with host families anymore, but I talked to a long time host family about what that experience in Vancouver had been. Another usher named Jerry, who had been to the game and that ballpark as a kid in like 1952, and still is an usher today. He has to be into his 80s, but just all these people with just really, really great roots at the ballpark. There's just a love affair with that ballpark and that team in the city of Vancouver, and it's a big market, so it's a small ballpark, so they draw pretty well between the size of their market and the affinity people have for that ballpark and that team and the tradition of seeing Vancouver Canadians baseball. So it was really, really great to be back. A guy named Alec, ALEC, was my designated eater. One of the things, of course, we had to get was the yard dog, which is 3-foot hot dog on a specialty bun. That really makes for quite a photo op. They also had a tatine, which is poutine atop tater tots. So tatine with the gravy and cheese curds, and I think some meat atop and green onions to give it some color atop tater tots. So some interesting food going on. Great atmosphere. Game just seemed to fly by, and then bam, had to leave the ballpark, check into some weird airport hotel, get 2-3 hours of sleep, and then have a travel snafu related misadventure on my way back home the next day. But at the risk of not going on another tangent, or at the risk of going on one, I won't get into all that, but mistakes were made at the Calgary airport. And I will say, one, I wish I didn't have a connecting flight in general, but two, if you're going to have a connecting flight, and you're traveling from Canada to the US, like don't have a connecting flight in Canada, because I had to get off for a connection and then go through customs, because now I was finally going to the US. So I had to go through security twice, customs on the connecting flight, made further mistakes from there. It was not good, but it's not the city of Calgary's fault. And I hope to go to Calgary in another context one day and see all that it has to offer.
Ben, one thing I'm curious about, and I know you went to a few Northwest League teams on this, but especially with Vancouver being the northernmost of the Northwest League, how do you feel like they're handling the transition from being a short season team to a full season team? Obviously, we're a few years into this now, but you went to see them in May. They weren't playing May in 2019. They were waiting another month, especially for a cold weather place like that. How do you feel like they're handling that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think all those teams, are struggling somewhat in April and May with the unpredictable and often cold, wet, rainy weather of the Pacific Northwest. So it is tough. I mean, when the Canadians were a short season club, given the aforementioned like strong fan base, being a short season team was just killing it. It made them a powerhouse, because you just are operating only, from mid-June to like Labor Day. You're just in the most prime time for baseball, and they would just sell out the whole stadium. In fact, I remember going there for the first time back in 2012, and for the first and still so far only time ever seeing scalpers in the parking lots, like at a minor league game, which I'd never seen before. So I still think they have, and so their group areas and whatever are just sold out, before the season starts for a lot of those traditional like summertime games that they used to exclusively play. April and May can still be a bit more of a slog, but for instance, I was there on a Wednesday in early-ish May, and the weather really cooperated, so I'm sure they had a decent walk-up crowd, and it wasn't a sellout, but man, it felt there was a lot of life and energy and just kind of great vibes, for lack of a better way to put it, the ballpark. But they have certainly, especially in April and in bad weather nights in May, I think have had some of their lower crowds that they've ever seen, given that they, prior to this, spent 2 decades in short season baseball. But before they were a short season team, they were AAA. So there's definitely a precedent, for cold weather, full season baseball in the city of Vancouver.
All right, Ben, what else is coming up either to the site or already on the site that you want to plug for people to check out from the trip and everything else? Yeah,
well, we got Jill Cole on MILB.com talking about her unorthodox PA announcing origins. Last week on the show, I had, we ran those 2 video game related interviews with Hillsborough Hops pitchers Dylan Ray and Connor Gramis. Working on a corresponding story to that should be up really soon. In the Ben's Biz Beat newsletter that's dropping today, it'll be already out by the time this podcast drops. I go real in depth on Hillsborough, kind of like I used to in Ben's Biz blog, just, a lot of pictures, a lot of detail. So I figured I could use the newsletter when appropriate to really go deep in a more conversational way on ballpark visits. So subscribe to my newsletter if you have not already, please. And then from there, next week and the week after, I have a lot of stories left, at least one, probably 2 or 3 more from all these different places, and including maybe some stuff that, we can spin off into standalone podcast segments as well. It's a good problem to have, but the nature of what I do is just kind of trying to make sense of this random grab bag of material I come back with in my big material sack. And now I'm going through it and trying to figure it all out. But stuff has begun to appear, and a lot more to come.
You can find Benjamin Hill on Twitter at Ben's Biz and on Instagram at TheBen'sBiz. And of course, read all the stuff on the site, MILB.com. And thanks, Ben.
Yeah, you're welcome. Here's to long rock and roll nights and rough mornings, but we all persevere, power through, and survive.
And kids catching their own baseballs.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Do it yourself, kids.
Hey everybody, it's Sam, just checking in here from after the MLB Pipeline Game of the Month on Thursday. That was a 13-1 win for the Louisville Bats. Louisville Bats, as I was just saying before. I'm still trying to get this whole pronunciation thing down. 13-1 win. Really special to watch these these bats the last 2 days because I had been really clued in on Ellie De La Cruz, obviously the top prospect in the Reds system. Had a little bit of a rough day on Wednesday when I first saw him striking out twice, but then here in this 13-1 win, he walked twice. He had a double down the line. The strides he was taking to get to second on that double were really impressive. The speed lived up to the hype. The throwing ability lived up to the hype. He had a 99.1 mile an hour throw on Wednesday after bobbling the ball a little bit at shortstop. So it's been really special to see Ellie De La Cruz. Actually, check out MLB.com/pipeline for a story I wrote about Ellie De La Cruz and how he's really improved his pitch selection and his swing decisions in the last couple weeks. He's actually leading all of minor league baseball in walks since May 9th. So go check out that story for more info on Ellie De La Cruz. Christian Encarnacion Strand hit a homer on Wednesday when I was here at 111 miles per hour. That's his hardest hit homer of the young season. He also went 3 for 3 on Thursday in the 13-1 win. He exited early. He had a little bit of an ankle issue before the game. They completely took him out just for precautionary reasons. They didn't want anything more to happen with the ankle. Obviously wasn't bothering him too much. Louisville manager Pat Kelly even said he was asking to stay in the game. This was, at that point, I think the score was 13-0. There was no point in him even, testing the ankle a little bit. Not a concern. He wasn't coming out because of a major league call-up. I know a lot of people in Cincinnati were keeping a keen eye on him and maybe a hug watch, but that wasn't the case here on Thursday. But as much as I was honed in on those two guys, the interview this week is actually going to be with Chuckie Robinson, the catcher for the Louisville Bats. You might know Chuckie Robinson from last year. He made his major league debut with the Reds, got in a few games in the majors with them. Actually, for him, catching is a bit of a family business. His grandfather played in the minor leagues as a catcher. His father played in the minor leagues as a catcher. So we talk about that a little bit. But Chuckie's a great personality, obviously. Somebody who I remember covering him during his time in the Astro system, and they were saying then how much pitchers liked working with the guy. So I thought it was an interesting time to talk to a catcher, not just because of Chuckie Robinson, who's off to a great start again this year. After Thursday night's game, he's hitting .363 with a .914 OPS through 29 games in Louisville, definitely pressing the issue to get back to Cincinnati. But also talk to a catcher at a time when AAA is using the automated ball strike system. What is it like to go through that, especially in AAA, first half of the week? You're using all automated balls and strikes. Umpires are making no calls on their own behind the plate. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it switches to the challenge system, and a hitter, a pitcher, or the catcher can challenge a ball strike call immediately. How does that change how you work as a catcher? Wanted to get into that with Chuckie Robinson. So here's me talking to Chuckie Robinson about a multitude of things, including AAA readiness, major league experience, and again, working in that ABS system as a backstop. All right, Chuckie, well, tonight, such a big win for you guys, on both sides, the hitting side and the pitching side. How much of a complete game did it feel like from your perspective?
Our offense was clicking on all cylinders. Pitching, everybody passed the baton, did their job. It was a great team win overall.
Yeah, and how deep is this lineup when you guys look at how much hitting you have up top, but also right on through the lineup?
Yeah, man, we got dudes who are banging 1 through 9 right now, putting together at bats, no heroes. Like I said, kind of with the pitching staff, everybody's passing the baton right now, and everybody's sticking to the approach and putting together professional at bats. And I think that's why we're hitting so well right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Levi Stout coming off a major league appearance for you guys, coming back tonight. What did you see out of him?
Kid's just locked in, man. Elite fastball, really good slider, curve, changeup, really good 4-pitch mix. He can throw any of them in any count. He's been really poised on the mound, and just by being in the big leagues, that's just a confidence booster when you come back down. So he's working, and he's been doing well all year.
Yeah, what is it like working with pitchers who are coming back down? Having gotten that experience and now they're here trying to get back.
You kind of can sense, guys a little more locked in. You go up there, you want to stick, obviously, but that's not the case all the time. And whether you're in the big leagues or here, everybody's here to, get batters out, whether it's a big leaguer or a minor leaguer. So he's just, staying humble and and sticking to his plan and trying to get better every day.
Yeah, and you're off to a strong start this year too. You were hitting around 380 coming into tonight. What do you attribute that to? What's been working so well?
Just keeping it simple and playing the game for what it is, man. This is really like as simple as that. Just having fun, watching the game, and making the necessary adjustments that I need throughout the game.
You feel like you were making it complicated before? What do you mean by that?
You can get caught up in like mechanics and not up there just trying to compete. It's funny as it sounds, man. We can, like, as baseball players, we live this life and we work so hard, and sometimes you just need to take a step back and remember that it's a kid's game. We all been playing this game since we were like 8 years old, and it was really easy when we were in middle school and high school. You know what I'm saying? But when you come to the yard every day, it can get really easy to focus on like one little mechanic or try to do this, try to do that, when in reality you just got to go out there and play baseball.
Yeah, when did that mindset switch to that? Trying to keep it simple for you.
Honestly, this spring training, I was kind of one of my goals, just to go out there and play, have as much fun as I can, and play baseball and try to win. That's all I'm trying to do right now, is do it with a smile on my face, have a lot of energy, and have fun. That's it.
And you're somebody who made your major league debut last year. Mm-hmm. How much did that change just your off season, knowing you are somebody who's made it to the show?
It's definitely it was a great accomplishment, but the off season was the same as always. Worked my butt off, and went into spring training trying to compete for a job. Got assigned here, and now I'm just still competing and just playing the game every day.
You feel like your role changes in that room when you are a guy with experience in the majors?
I don't view it that way, but maybe so. Yeah, because from somebody else's perspective, I may have that label on me, but me internally, I don't feel like it at all. I'm same old Chuckie, just trying to win ball games.
Yeah. Well, what was your takeaway from that time up there last year?
The show is dope. It's dope, man.
Put that on a bumper sticker, right?
Yeah, exactly. The show is dope. No, my biggest takeaway was, dudes pay attention. They play the game. I feel like the difference between the minors and the big leagues is dudes they're playing the game, they're watching the game, they're talking to each other, they're making the adjustments. They're seeing little things like dudes tipping pitches or hey, this dude's throwing this pitch in this count every time. Right. They're playing the game for what it is, and not too many dudes are worried about the mechanics or worrying about all this other stuff. They trust all the work they put in, and everybody is there for one goal, and that's to win the baseball game, offensively and obviously behind the dish. Being uber prepared and knowing all my hitters, knowing all my pitchers, their strengths, and just trying to win. That's the biggest thing, is everybody's trying to win. It's not an individual game, it's a team game. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So did that experience kind of help form what you were talking about finding this spring?
Yeah. Honestly, I think that rubbed off a lot. Just seeing like the camaraderie that comes with the big leagues, and how important every single pitch is. Not giving in to a hitter just because, or giving up an at bat just because. Trying to win. As crazy as it sounds, sometimes it's just you get caught up in internal things, and you forget that it is a team game. So that's the way I want to play the game. It's a lot easier to play that way, man.
Right.
A lot easier to get up and get to the field, and when you're playing for something bigger than just yourself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you remember most about your debut? You got a knock. You almost had your debut in Iowa, which was insane. Yeah. It didn't work out that way, but you did start in Philly. Mm-hmm. What do you remember from that game?
From the game, obviously I remember the knock. That lineup was pretty cool to call.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To call pitches against. That was pretty cool. And my family being there, that's what I remember the most. Right. My dad, my grams, my wife, everybody was there. It was just a dope experience overall.
Yeah, and catching is kind of in your blood. Your dad, your grandfather, we're all catchers. How much does it mean to you to be the guy who got to the majors?
Man, it means a lot. Me and my grandpa, man, we freaking grinded our way. I'm talking. We put in a lot of time, man. It's definitely a really cool accomplishment, But me and him, we talk all the time, and it's like we're just getting started. So we're gonna keep our head down and keep working, and hopefully I can have a good career up there.
Did you keep stuff from that debut? Did you give stuff away, like batting gloves, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I still got a lot of stuff. I got my first hit, my first home run, my first caught stealing.
Oh, there you go.
kept my bat. I got the lineup card. I got a lot of stuff.
I feel like caught stealing's not talked about enough. Like the home run ball, the first hit ball, caught stealing.
Yeah, I kept my caught stealing. So
Yeah.
I was like, I need that
Especially
one.
with your arm. Yeah,
exactly. Well, let me get that one.
Well, speaking of catching, you're here in AAA now with the ABS system, which everybody's still trying to get used to.
Right.
You guys are using it the first 3 days, and then you're going to challenge the last 3 days of every week. What is it like working in that system, having to switch rules essentially halfway through the week?
I'm getting it. I'm new to it. So,
Yeah, right.
It definitely takes away the art of framing away from the position. You can definitely get a little lackadaisical back there because I mean you can butcher a ball and it's still a strike, but it's kind of a unique perspective to see what was really a ball and what's really a strike. There's some balls that I catch and I'm like, oh man, that's been a strike my whole life. And sometimes the umpires are like, wow, you know, to see how small the zone really is, the ABS zone.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, it's not foolproof. Sometimes a ball may clip the bottom of the zone because it's a big curveball, whatever the case may be. And then switching to the last 3 games of the series where we can challenge, I kind of like that. I kind of like the challenge just because, I don't know, it brings some excitement to the game, kind of like tennis.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's some suspense, you know, in there, and we can challenge some critical pitches and kind of flip the whole at bat. But I definitely think it's shrinking the zone too, even from the umpire's perspective, because you know they're seeing how small the zone really is, and you know behind the dish we're taught to still strikes, get around pitches, and we know it's off, and we get the strike, but if he calls it a ball, we can't challenge it, so a ball's a ball, you know. And I think umpires are definitely getting, I guess, better because of it. The zone is definitely a little smaller. I think it's definitely an advantage to the hitter. If I were to give an advantage.
Yeah. And do you still work as if you are framing a pitch, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah. The first game I was like, let me take it easy. So I was back there chilling, but I'm like, hey, I still gotta work. So yeah, I'm taking every game like I'm getting graded for it, you know.
Right.
But
are you getting graded for it? Like, is there ways of judging how your framing is working?
Yeah.
Okay.
This SL Plus, there's a stat for it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, strikes are looking.
All right. Well, speaking of the art of catching, you guys have a really good prospect here in Ellie De La Cruz who's learning the zone and walking more. As a catcher, and you're watching him, is there any part of you that thinks like this is how I would pitch down?
To Ellie?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That kid can mash. You know, I've seen him do some crazy things.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I put that, honestly. he can hit the ball in the opposite field. He can pull it. I mean, he has a great eye, so he's kind of keyholing. So you gotta come to him.
Right.
And if you miss middle, he can hit a ball a long ways.
Yeah. You said you've seen some crazy things. What's the craziest thing you saw so far?
Man, this kid was jogging. I seen him jog like it was a triple to left center, and I'm pretty sure he was jogging one time. I'm like left center. I'm like sliding in the second on his out.
Right. And it's like 5 strides.
Yeah, like even today he hit a chopper in shallow right field and got a double out of it, right in front of the right fielder's face. Like he's a phenom, man. I can't wait to see what he does.
Well, just to kind of round it out, what do you feel like you need to do now to kind of push the issue to get back to Cincinnati, especially with this youth movement and guys are getting opportunities?
You know, just keep doing what I can do. You know, control what I can control. I don't make decisions, so I just play my game, try to win ball games, and I think that goes hand in hand with having success on the baseball field. So I'm not going to worry about that as long as I'm behind the dish, as long as I can stand in the box and swing. You know, I'm happy, and the people who make the decisions, they'll make them. Yeah.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once had some real pep in its step. Under scrutiny, the others don't even stand up. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A. The Mount Vernon Vehemence. B. The Waycross Blowhards. C. The Cozad Shout-It-Outs. Blow it out your ear if you picked any other club than B. The Waycross Blowhards, who insisted upon a spot in the Empire State League of 1913. If the name of that circuit puts you in a New York state of mind, the Blowhards will be only too happy to disabuse you the notion. Waycross was way down where? In Ware County of the Empire State of the South, Georgia. Even by 1913, there was already a history of pro baseball in Waycross going way back. In 1898, Chicago's National League team held spring camp there, although the players relentlessly complained about the quality of the food and total lack of quaffable alcoholic beverages in town. By 1913, other clubs had played full seasons there, but the Blowhards blew into town along with the de facto headquarters of the new Empire State League, which was founded by James Sinclair, a businessman from a Waycross-based railroad line who was also active in town politics as well as being the league's first president. H.H. Burnett, also of Waycross, served as the circuit's inaugural treasurer. But the Blowhards benefited not one bit from any home field advantage league-wide. According to some sources, the club got its moniker from wild winds that sometimes blew in the region, but it more likely had to do with a team that was particularly outspoken about calls it disagreed with, which may have been many. And, as was common for the clubs at the time, the Blowhards' name was more of a sobriquet given by newspapers and the fans than a lone and official appellation. Call them what you want, but don't call them a great ball club. The Blowhards thought baseball would be a breeze, but they had trouble getting into the wind column. Waycross went through 3 skippers. Poor Charles Wahoo was fired on June 15, and his replacement, Jack Hawkins, was a catcher who was seemingly replaced by sometimes battery mate Wild Bill Clark, who won 16 games on the bump for the Blowhards. That's all the more impressive considering that the club had a total of 43 victories compared to 52 losses. Good for, or bad for, 5th place on the 6-team circuit. Wild Bill was back at the helm for Waycross in 1914, but the Loop was rechristened the Georgia State League, and the club was now known as both the Grasshoppers and the Moguls. And that's how the Blowhards blew out. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these lonely clubs always looked out for number 1 in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Corning Independents. B. The Killeen Individualists. C. The Medford Mavericks. Want to know the answer? You're on your own. Or, tuning to the next, goes to the minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is playing Kick the Can, and I've got to shake it.
Final segment of this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Big thanks to Josh Jackson for stopping by with Ghosts of the Miners. And before we get out of here, we've got to tell you what to do with your weekend. And that is either watch baseball games on MILB TV or attend a game with an awesome promotion as selected by our very own Ben's Biz. Sam, let's kick it off. What are you watching this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be watching Jackson Holiday at this point. I know last week we previewed some of the market corrections that were coming to the MLB Pipeline Top 100. If you haven't followed through on that yet, you might not know. Jackson Holiday is our number 3 overall prospect. And that was just a snapshot in time. Like, if we came out with the rankings 2 weeks from now, he might have already climbed to number 2. He was certainly in the discussion for number 1 overall. So by the time we update these again, which is going to probably be in late June, he very well could take that top spot from Jordan Walker, who sits there now, and Jackson Churio, who's number 2. But Jackson Holiday's been on absolute tear at High A Aberdeen. Their games are televised this week. They are playing in Winston-Salem. As of recording this on Thursday, in his last 2 games, Jackson Holiday's 8 for 9 with 6 extra base hits. He has not struck out at all. Like I said, 8 for 9. He only had 1 out. That 1 out was a line out. He's flirted with the cycle in each of the first 2 games against Winston-Salem. His high A slash line, and again, he's only 19 years old, but his high A slash line is 391, 500, 719. So he's not only exceeding that kind of golden ratio of 300, 400, 500, he's reaching base half the time. He's slugging at least 700. It's been really special to watch Jackson Holiday be that next potential star for the Baltimore Orioles, and could give them 3 number 1 overall prospects in 3 separate years between Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson last year, and now Jackson Holiday. It would be really incredible to see that. But as much excitement as there is in Baltimore right now, there should be just as much for what's going on there in Aberdeen. So catch Jackson Holiday in the South Atlantic League while you can. Tyler, what's on your docket?
I'm going to the AA Eastern League. The guy who was maybe the most hyped prospect we've ever encountered in our time doing this work is Jason Dominguez, who, of course, famously drew comparisons to Mickey Mantle and Bo Jackson and Mike Trout. Jason Dominguez is he's starting to get things figured out. It seems like at AA. Last week, he hit a home run against the Portland Sea Dogs. It was preposterous. Josh Jackson and Jason Ratliff, our own pals, were in attendance for one of those games in Portland, Maine, and he will be home. Jason Dominguez will be this weekend taking on the Reading Fightin' Phils for the Somerset Patriots. You can catch Dominguez. He is teammates at AA with Austin Wells, who's the second-ranked Yankees prospect. Those two guys will be taking on the Phillies affiliate from Reading, Pennsylvania. Ben, what about from the promo side this weekend? What's got your eye caught in minor league baseball across the country?
I'm going to go, as I often do, a little irreverent, arguably lacking taste a little bit, but hey, let's have some fun.
I like that as a premise.
Yeah. Well, all right, to set this up, of course, everyone remembers, the rough times we had in the year 2020 as a society, as a world, as an earth. But, one of the things early on in the pandemic times was the toilet paper shortage. Maybe a little bit artificial, or maybe people are overreacting, but there was that period when everyone's figuring things out and hoarding and stockpiling toilet paper. And that caused a handful of teams in 2021 to do kind of like toilet paper related promos, maybe a giveaway saying, excuse me, I forgot to hit the cough button. But just to do kind of toilet paper theme nights in 2021. Having a little fun with our societal reaction to stocking up on toilet paper of all things immediately in the wake of a pandemic and not knowing what was going on. So then last year, the Charleston River Dogs said, that was fun. We're still going to do a toilet paper promotion. And this Saturday, they are completing the trilogy with Toilet Paper 3, The Final Wipe. So they say this is it for their toilet paper promotions. It's going out with a flush is actually how they put it. And I don't know all the specifics of what they have planned for in-game with toilet paper, but after the game, quote, all fans still in attendance will receive a roll of paper as soon as the final out is recorded, a roll of toilet paper. We'll then count down and treat the ballpark like your high school math teacher's house. Wipe your schedule clean for this one. So the Charleston River Dogs, who have done this sort of thing before, I remember when they had like a big color explosion one night a couple of years ago with those like colored dye packets where they just created a huge mess with this color explosion. They like to do these kind of participatory things. And so stick around for the end of this Saturday evening tilt between Charleston and Delmarva, where all Charleston fans left in the ballpark. And why would you leave knowing that this is going to happen? Get a roll of toilet paper and just throw it around the ballpark. Is this wasteful? Yes. Is it of questionable taste? Maybe. But, I like that they made this a trilogy and they're going out. They're going out with a big time memory for all who stick around, throwing toilet papering the whole ballpark, and, thoughts and prayers to the ops staff and anyone else who has to spend a lot of time that night cleaning things up.
The final wipe. Amazing.
Yeah, Ben, you missed an own goal on a player. You said thoughts and prayers. You could have said T's and B's.
Oh, whoa,
man.
Whoa. Sam, that was some real solid material. That was excellent.
And I'm just giving it away for free on this show all the time. What can I say?
Real solid material. Ironically, the stuff you need the least amount of toilet paper for.
No.
Oh man,
the jokes that have been made here in the last minute. That is number 2, Tyler.
On that note, we got to get out of here. We don't want a real crappy finish. For Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill and John Jackson as well, my name is Tyler Vaughn. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We'll catch you next week.